Let's begin on our backs, coming into Shavasana. Starting to settle down towards the earth. Maybe you lift up your shoulder blades and your hips as you start to settle in. Choose whatever variation you want to take with your feet and legs. Maybe you have your feet planted with your knees up towards the sky. Maybe you just have your legs out long in a traditional corpse pose. Flip your palms up towards the ceiling. Maybe let your eyes come to close. From here, begin to collect all of your energy back within your body, within your energetic field. Maybe retracing your steps from earlier today. Drawing all of the energy so that you can arrive in this practice fully. We'll begin with a poem called Walk Slowly. It only takes a reminder to breathe, a moment to be still, and just like that, something in me settles, softens, makes space for imperfection. The harsh voice of judgment drops to a whisper, and I remember again that life isn't a relay race, that we will all cross the finish line, and that waking up to life is what we were born for. As many times as I forget, catch myself charging forward without even knowing where I'm going, that many times I can make the choice to stop, to breathe and be, and walk slowly into the mystery. Shift your awareness now to your breath. You don't have to change it. Start to notice the quality of the breath. You might feel the temperature of the air as it comes in and out through your nose or mouth. Feel the areas of expansion and contraction. Begin to find length in your inhalations, inviting more oxygen into your lungs. With each breath, inviting more air in. Place one hand over your heart and one hand over your belly. From this place of self-connection, I invite you to set an intention for your practice or your evening. See if there's a word or a phrase or a feeling that comes to mind. Your intention is something that you can anchor to throughout your practice. Let's draw our knees in towards our chest, grasping onto shins or the tops of your knees as you start to find some gentle movement. We'll hug our right knee in towards our chest as we let the left leg come down onto the ground. From here, find some circles for that right knee. You might even draw it over to the left, offering a stretch for the low back and hips. Let's hug our left knee in as the right leg goes long. Find some movement for your left side. Once again, hug both knees in. Cross one ankle over the other as your knees start to drift away from each other. Grab onto your toes or your feet, opening up the low back onto the ground, maybe finding a little bit of swaying here. Draw your knees in together. And then your choice, depending on how you're feeling this evening, maybe you roll over to one side in the fetal position to press yourself into a seat, or maybe you rock and roll on the length of your spine if you're looking for more energy. And then arriving in a seat, we'll take our left leg long out at the side. Any amount is fine. Drawing the right foot in to meet the inseam of the left thigh. You might place something for support underneath the extended leg or maybe under the sit bones. Sweep your hands overhead, take a full breath in. As you exhale, twist towards the right, planting your left palm on your right thigh. Look over your right shoulder. The right fingers are planted on the ground behind you. As you're ready to take a breath in, reach your hands high, unwinding the abdomen, and then pivot your belly button towards your extended leg. Exhale as you fold down. Inhale to rise. Exhale to twist, moving with your own breath. Full breath in, always reaching up towards the ceiling. And then turning towards the long leg and folding down. Keep moving with this pattern, allowing your breath to guide you. And you're welcome to stay in any of these positions for more than one breath. And as a reminder, this is a gentle flow class. So move gently, move mindfully, move in ways that feel safe and supportive for your body. You always have permission to take breaks or modify any pose. The next time your hands are reaching up towards the sky, release them down at your sides. We'll swap out the legs, taking the right leg long. Once you feel settled, sweep your hands into the sky, full breath in. Exhale, ring your abdomen out to the left. Full breath in, rise. Belly button pivots towards the extended leg as you soften down. Move with your own breath. Maybe as the hands are reaching, you reach just a little higher, finding a little bit more length for the spine. Maybe you twist just a little bit more. Full, easy breaths. As your hands are overhead, soften them down at your sides. We're going to draw both legs long in front of us. Once again, it might feel nice to have something for support underneath the legs. And then rock side to side, moving any flesh away from your sit bones, your ischial tuberosities. We're going to reach our hands overhead, full breath in. And as you exhale, you're going to pivot forward from your hips, keeping the spine straight. Grab onto your ankles, shins, or feet. As you inhale, you're going to lift up and open up the chest. And as you exhale, you're going to fully release and soften down towards the legs. With a full breath in, you'll reach your hands overhead, finding length in the spine. Exhale, shift forward from your hips, grabbing onto toes, ankles, or shins. As you're ready to take a full breath in, open through the chest, looking forward. Exhale, fully soften. 3 more rounds with your own breath. As you're done with that third round, rise up fully, soften your hands at your sides. Move any props out of the way and make your way onto hands and knees. We'll be on our hands and knees just for a little while. If you feel like you need some support underneath the knees, you can place a blanket or a towel under them, or even double up roll up your mat. Check in with your alignment, shoulders above wrists, hips above knees. We'll take a few rounds of cat and cow here, starting by dropping the belly, press through the palms, look forward, or maybe up towards the ceiling, as long as that feels okay for your head and neck. As you exhale, tuck your tailbone, tuck your chin, hollow out your belly, maybe even press through the palms and the tops of the feet as you arch your spine. With your in breath, dropping into cow. Exhale to round into cat. Keep moving with your breath. Come back to tabletop. We're gonna come into a melting heart position. So we're gonna reach the left hand forward. You're gonna take your right hand and place it underneath the left elbow so that you can lower the right forearm onto the mat. Your elbow, your hand, your right one, will act as a stopper for the left elbow, and then you can rest your forehead on your right arm. So your hips are still in the air. You might need to adjust your lower body a little bit. And you should feel a stretch, particularly in the shoulders, maybe even in the chest or the pecs. Offer yourself 2 more breaths here. As you're ready, rise back up into tabletop. We'll take this to the other side, planting that right hand a couple steps forward, taking the left forearm onto the ground. Offering yourself a few breaths on this side. Mindfully come back to tabletop. Curl your toes under, walk your hands towards your knees, sitting back towards your heels, coming into a toe squat. And having your hands connected to the ground feels like a nice place where you're feeling some sensation in the feet. Stay there. If you want more sensation, walk your hands onto your thighs. If your hands are connected to the ground, you might turn the fingers in towards the center of the mat, exploring what that stretch feels like, or maybe you take your fingers to the outer edges of the mat, or even turning the fingers all the way towards the knees, feeling a stretch on the inside of the wrists. If you're in an upright position, you might explore circling out the wrists, maybe even circling out the shoulders. Maybe planting the tops of the hands on the outsides of the rib cage with the fingers pointing up towards the armpits, offering a little gentle compression there. You're always welcome to come in and out as you need to. Feel your breath. Release your hands onto the mat if they aren't there already. Walk yourself into tabletop, tap out the tops of your toes. Once that feels good, find a moment of stillness and feel, honoring any sensations. We'll offer ourselves 1 more toe squat, curling the toes under, walking the hands towards the body, choosing any variations you want to for the upper body. Revisit your intention. Replant your hands, walk yourself forward, tap out your toes. Pause for a moment and feel. Maybe you even name what sensations you're experiencing. Buzzing, tingling, pulsing. We're going to create a little bit of movement and heat, hopefully, with this next set of movement. We're going to sink our hips back towards our heels, tapping the forehead to the mat, coming into a brief child's pose. As you inhale, rise up through tabletop, walk your hands forward a step as you shift your hips forward and down towards the mat. Your hips won't meet the mat likely. And as you exhale, sink your hips back into child's pose. Inhale, rising through tabletop, shifting your hips down for a brief cobra or up dog. Exhale, child's pose. Keep moving with your breath. You might pick up the pace of your breath to invite heat, preparing for a little bit of a flow. The next time you find yourself coming through tabletop, pause there. Curl your toes under, lift your knees, send your hips up towards the ceiling. Walk your hands forward a step or two. Look towards your feet. Find some movement for your feet and your legs. Pause for a moment in stillness. Inhale, reach your right foot up towards the ceiling, squeezing at your glute. As you exhale, bend through your right knee, guide it towards your face. Inhale to re-extend, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose. One more time with your own breath. Find extension. We'll come back to a three-legged dog. Taking a deep bend through both knees, plant your right foot between your hands. We're going to stay in this lifted low lunge. Keep your left hand either connected to the ground or maybe you offer yourself a block for a little bit more height. Make sure your right knee is above its ankle. Sweep your right arm or your right hand up towards the ceiling. Maybe your gaze follows. You might find some movement for that right shoulder, taking circles in both directions. As you are finding yourself with an exhalation, that was an odd phrase. We're going to pre-plant the right hand, back knee comes onto the ground, untuck your back toes, pressing through the right foot, rise up, low supported lunge. If you need more stability, walk that right foot to the outside of the mat. Full breath in, reach your hands high. As you exhale, release your hands behind your low back, interlacing your fingers, squeeze your shoulder blades. You'll feel your chest naturally open. Draw your belly button towards your spine. Option to stay here, or you can shift forward from your hips, drawing your right shoulder above your right knee. If you take this humble position, allow your head and neck to be soft and heavy. Gently release your hands to frame your front foot. And then we're gonna take the right hand on the inside of the right foot. Carefully swing it back into tabletop. Curl your toes under, come into down dog. Look towards your feet. With a full breath in, lift your left foot up towards the ceiling, squeeze at your glute. As you exhale, guide your knee towards your face. Inhale, three-legged dog. Knee to nose. Full breath in, extend. Take a deep bend through both knees and guide your left foot between your hands. Keep that back leg lifted. You might have to step back just a little bit, offering a little more length for the right leg. Plant your right hand onto the ground or your block. Open your left hand up towards the ceiling. Full breath in. You might offer yourself some circles for this side. With a full breath in, extend your left hand up towards the ceiling. And exhale, release that hand down to the ground. Release your back knee, untuck your back toes. Press through the left foot and rise up. Adjust as you need to, making sure that your foundation feels sturdy. Full breath in, sweep your hands high. Draw your navel towards your spine. Exhale to release your hands behind your low back. Interlace your fingers, squeeze your shoulder blades. Once again, you have the option to stay here with your breath or draw your left shoulder above its knee. Carefully release your hands. Guiding the hands onto the mat, we're gonna curl our back toes under, step forward, coming into our first forward fold. Find some intuitive movement here. Maybe it's swaying side to side or bobbing the head back and forth. Finding some nice release for the low back. Ever so mindfully and slowly begin to rise up from your sacrum, the base of your spine. Visualizing each vertebrae being stacked upon the other until eventually you arrive in mountain. Once you arrive in mountain pose, find some movement for your shoulders. Maybe you trace your chin from shoulder to shoulder. And guide the crown of your head back up towards the ceiling. Sweep your hands overhead. Take your fingers in a steeple grip, so interlacing the fingers all but the pointer fingers and the thumbs. Reach your fingers up towards the sky. And we'll take a gentle bend towards the right. Feel your breath. Rise back up to center. We'll take this gentle bend over to the left. Come back to center. Release your hands. Plant them on the fronts of your hips. We're going to find some circles. So drawing a half circle as we shift the hips forward. Completing that circle as we take the hips behind. Paying attention to any sensations that arise as you do this. And then we'll take these circles in the opposite direction. And then start to make your circles smaller and smaller. Coming back to stillness. Let's guide the arms overhead, palms come to touch, start to bend through the elbows as you guide your hands down through heart center, shifting down into a forward fold. And then if you have a blanket or a towel, we'll just roll it up a little bit, or even rolling the top of your mat up so that you can take your toes and the balls of your feet onto your prop. So we're lifting the toes up away from the mat. Maybe you offer yourself a little bit more of a bend through the knees. You can experiment with the height of your prop. You might experiment with bending and straightening the legs. Go ahead and remove your prop. Replanting the feet. We'll take a couple more breaths here in our forward fold. Offering yourself a generous bend through both knees. Plant your hands, step both feet back, downward facing dog. Hips are up towards the ceiling. Find some natural movement for your feet. With a full breath in, reach your right foot up towards the ceiling, three-legged dog. And exhale, we're gonna guide that foot between our hands. Swivel and plant your left foot onto the mat. Press through the right foot and leg, rise up. We're setting up for warrior two. You might take a moment to bend in and out through the front knee. Adjust your stance as you need to. Hips are facing the long edge of the mat or the side of the room. Arms are parallel to the ground. We're gonna flip the palms up. With a full breath in, straighten through the front leg, guiding the palms together. You might look up towards your hands. As you exhale, open back up to warrior two. Inhale, straighten through the front leg, guide the hands towards each other. Exhale, warrior two. Keep moving, allowing your breath to guide you. The next time you are coming through warrior two, pause there, flip your palms down, reach your right hand forward. Left hand goes up towards the ceiling. Your right forearm can rest on top of your right thigh, or maybe you reach for the ground or for a block. Breathe spaciousness all along the left side of your body. Rise back up to warrior two, straighten through the front leg. We're going to guide the right fingers towards the ceiling. And then rebending through the front leg, we're going to cartwheel our hands to the top of the mat, planting the right hand on the inside of the right foot. Step back, down dog. Reconnect with your breath. Inhale, lift the left foot up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, step it between your hands. Swivel and plant your right foot. As you're ready and feeling sturdy, rise up, warrior two on the other side. Take a moment to set up your foundation. Check in to make sure your left knee is above its ankle. Arms are parallel to the ground. Flip your palms up. Full breath in, straighten through the front leg. Guide your palms towards each other. Exhale, warrior two. Keep breathing and moving. Pause in warrior two. We're going to flip the palms down. Reach your left fingers forward. Right hand goes high. Choose your variation for the left arm. Once again, feel yourself breathing spaciousness along the whole right side of your body, from the right fingers all the way down to your right foot. Rise back up, warrior two. Straighten through the front leg, left hand goes high. Feel your breath. Come back to warrior two. We're gonna balance on our left heel as we turn the toes inward, facing the same direction as the right toes, shifting forward from the hips. Plant your hands onto the ground. Option to stay in a wide-legged forward fold if you feel that you could just use that moment of respite. If you want some movement and a little bit of a twist, you can plant your left hand onto the ground in the center or onto a block. Open your right hand up towards the ceiling. Feel your breath. We're going to exhale, plant the right hand onto the ground or a block. Open up the left fingers to the ceiling. So breathing in as you reach your hand up towards the sky, and exhale as you replant that hand. And if you took some movement in this position, return your hands to the ground. Find a few breaths with stillness. Pressing through the hands. Walk your hands towards the front of your mat. Your feet will start to move a little bit. Step your left foot back into down dog. And then we'll mindfully lower the knees onto the mat. Untuck the back toes. You could take Child's pose with your legs together, or take the knees nice and wide, big toes touching. Starting to sink your hips back towards your heels. Might feel nice to place a blanket or something behind the thighs. Walk your hands forward. Let your forehead or your temple rest on the ground, or maybe even a block. Feel yourself softening with each exhale. You're perfectly welcome to stay exactly as you are. If you'd like to, you can walk your hands over to the right, maybe crossing the left hand on top of the right hand, softening back down towards the ground. If you took your hands over to the right side, walk them back to center. And then walk your hands over to the left. Bring your hands back to center if they aren't already. Lift your forehead away from the ground or your block. Rise up into tabletop. Find a little bit of gentle, intuitive movement, maybe swaying the hips side to side. We're going to be heading into a pigeon pose. So I'll demonstrate and guide you through traditional pigeon. And then I will also give a couple of modifications for a reclined pigeon. So taking your right knee, guiding it directly behind your right wrist, you might start to kind of kick that right foot towards the left side of the mat, and then inch your left foot towards the back of the mat, finding length. You could place a blanket or a block behind the right hip or even underneath the pelvis. If you have a bolster, you might place it vertically on the ground in front of you so you can rest on it. You can also lower onto forearms as long as that feels okay for your lower body, and rest your forehead onto a block. So there's different options for using props in this pose to make it accessible. If you feel like you need that modified version, come onto your back. With your feet connected to the ground and your knees up towards the ceiling, you're going to cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh, just below the knee. And then just check in with the sensation there. If you want more sensation, you can lift your left foot away from the mat, guiding the legs a little closer to the body. And then for more sensation, you can thread your hands behind your left thigh or on top of your left shin, gently drawing the legs just a little closer towards the body. So there's a little bit more control over sensation in this modified version. Make sure that whatever position it is that you're in, that you feel that you can breathe. You're not forcing anything. You're not experiencing pain. Some discomfort is okay. And just make sure that you can breathe and be. See if you can find places that might be gripping unnecessarily. Allow those places to soften and release. Offer yourself 3 more breaths in this pigeon. Softening just a little bit more with each exhale. If you're in the modified version, you can lower the left foot onto the ground, uncross the right leg and replant it, and then take that to the other side. If you're in this upright pigeon, roll to the outside of your right hip, swing your left foot forward. We're going to plant the feet. And actually, if you're in the modified version, let's just find a little bit of movement by swaying the knees from side to side. So we'll windshield wiper legs, making sure to do that gently, tuning into those places of sensation. And then to set up for the other side, we'll come back into tabletop. Drawing the left knee behind the left wrist. Scooching back the right leg. And then offering any props for support and comfort. And just honor any differences on this side. So this side might feel the same, or maybe it feels different. This side might need something else, maybe more sensation, maybe a different prop. Release any unnecessary tension. We'll be here for 3 more breaths on this side. Continue softening with each exhale. If you're on your back, go ahead and unwind the legs. Find some movement for the knees by swaying them side to side. If you're in the traditional pigeon, roll to the outside of the left hip, swing the right foot forward. And then just find some movement that would feel good for the hips and the legs. It could be windshield wipering the legs. It could be maybe even straightening out the legs and doing a forward fold. Finding some ways to balance out that hip opener. And then as you are ready, make your way onto your back. And then keep your feet connected to the ground, your knees up towards the ceiling. We're going to press through the soles of the feet, lift the hips. We're going to set them over to the right a few inches, and then lower the knees to the left. Take your arms out as wide as you can. You might play around with the positioning of the legs, maybe even just crossing that top leg on top of the left leg. And then to just add a little bit more to this twist, you might take your right ear to the mat, looking towards the right fingers. Guide your head back to a neutral position. Knees go back up towards the ceiling. Realign your spine. As you're ready, press through the bottoms of the feet. Set your hips over to the left a few inches. Lower the knees to the right. Maybe you take your gaze to the left. You might feel and visualize all of the places where your body is making an imprint on the ground. Guide your knees back up towards the sky. Let's hug our thighs in towards our bellies. Might feel nice to just sway a little bit. You might even guide your face up towards your knees. And then soften all the way down onto the ground. You might grab a blanket or something else for comfort and support as you set up for your final resting position. Know that you can always take Shavasana in any position. Doesn't always have to be the traditional corpse pose. There might be something else that feels more nourishing. And give yourself full permission to rest and to be. Knowing that thoughts and stories and daydreams, maybe even distractions, will happen, but you can always come back to your breath. You'll hear my voice again as it's time to reawaken. Reconnect with your breath. Find some gentle movements to reawaken your body. Without rushing, make your way into a comfortable seat to close, allowing your eyes to remain soft or closed just for a few moments longer. And we'll place one hand over our heart, one hand over our belly. Feeling your connection to yourself. Feeling your health, your vibrance, your aliveness. You might even offer yourself some gratitude and compassion. Bring your hands to touch in front of your heart. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me this evening. I see you. I respect you. Thank you. Namaste.